Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today I have this person that actually inspired me to say, maybe this house thing, there's something to it. Kevin Roberts, real estate guru, and someone that decided to buy his first home like super early. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So home, like, there's this debate. I can't remember the name of the show, but it's like, this guy goes to people's houses and it's like, oh, I'll look at your money and then I'll show you how to spend it. And one of the things is like, you don't really need to buy a home. But then I'm like, because sometimes when you look at mortgage prices and then rent prices, it's like, what? Yeah. Because like, it's either the same or sometimes the rent is a little bit more for like, it's, like a small place, especially here in the city. And then I saw your LinkedIn and you're like, you're about to get a new property. I'm like, you're the right person to talk to. So thanks for coming today. Why did you decide to get a house so early?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do because like you said, like rent prices were insane. And at the end of the day, some people have to rent, but you are renting something that you don't own. So it's like money's going down the drain. So throughout university, that's something I've always wanted to do. I was like, I need to save my money up and then eventually buy a house is what my original plan was, because I didn't want to be throwing money away on rent. It just didn't seem appealing to me. So that's kind of what I did. But, I eventually found like investing and thought, well, I can also lower that cost of buying the house and paying for the mortgage and stuff by having a tenant in the other unit. So that's kind of what I did. Didn't go exactly as planned because I ended up buying in Truro, because Halifax, when I graduated, it was mid-COVID.
Oh,
it was insane. As
yeah.
a single man out of university, you don't make that much money. So Halifax prices were pretty crazy. So had to look elsewhere. So ended up in Truro.
I lived in Truro for a while, and it's a pretty nice city. It's laid back and stuff, and people there are super nice. How was it? Like, why did you? I mean, there are a lot of towns before you get to Truro. Why did you decide to go to Truro? And how was the process of getting the place there?
Well, Truro is, to me, the biggest market outside of Halifax, and that's kind of what led me there, is I wanted to invest somewhere where I knew people were living and moving to, but, I just couldn't afford Halifax. So the next best thing for me was Truro. It's an hour outside of the city. There's lots of people moving there. They have pretty much everything you need. They have a Starbucks in Truro, which I never thought that would end up in Truro. If you knew, Truro 10 years ago, it's just a small town.
Yeah.
But they have everything you need there. It's growing a lot. It was, I saw a stat that it was one of the smallest small markets that grew throughout COVID. So naturally, I just found that town to be, it's just a smaller Halifax at this point. So it's going to continue growing. So I decided to plant some roots there and get property.
Makes total sense, because while I was there, I was working in Halifax, so the commute isn't too bad.
Well, that's the thing. People from Ontario don't mind an hour commute. So as people start to move to Halifax, you can't all live in the city. So people start to move outside. So
Smart man.
Exactly.
Smart man. So what was the process of getting the place?
It was challenging at first because, in COVID, it was like people were offering $100,000 over asking, and I didn't make enough money to do that. So, Truro wasn't there wasn't as much competition there, so it was a little bit of an easier process. But you have to go through the steps of finding a mortgage broker or talking to your bank to figure out how much money you can be approved for, and then find a realtor and go look at all these different houses.
Yeah, I've had a chat with someone before, and they always confuse me. So, what's the broker and what's the realtor? Like, what's the and can a company or person be both?
Yeah, so you can be both if you want to choose that profession. That'd be pretty hectic. But there's the mortgage broker, is someone that essentially just helps you get financing. So you could go to a bank like your bank, but they'll only offer you a certain amount of services, and you have to meet their criteria. So one thing's off, you're not going to get financing. Like it was especially difficult for me because I didn't make much money. The banks would just see me as some little kid trying to buy a house. So the mortgage broker kind of can shop around to every different bank or lending institution and find you the best rates to get your mortgage with, and you know, all the different terms that suit your needs. So they help on the financing side, but then the realtor is the one, you know, that will go and like just look at all the listings and get you the right house or property.
Do you have to look at a lot of places to settle down?
Yeah. I've probably looked at 20-ish
Wow.
throughout the time. For a while, I was looking. I had a friend that I knew invests in Halifax, and we were gonna pool our resources together and buy here. But you know, even mid-COVID market with two people, we couldn't do it. So he had to move on to something else. So I was on my own. So Truro it is. Yeah.
So like you had to drive every time to Truro to check the place, or?
Yeah. Well, I lived there for probably 3 months because it wasn't easy to just drive there, especially with contractors. Like I was getting work done, and they don't work on the weekends most of the time. So it's like, how am I going to let them in and show them what to do? So
right. So once you got the place, you had to. How much work did the place need?
my first one didn't need too much. You know, just like basic, like putting flooring in. I redid the bathroom, basic stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said first one. How many do you have now?
Yeah, now I just bought my second one in November.
Right.
So pretty much a year after that, I have another duplex in Truro as well.
So what lessons did you learn from the first one that helped that you're applying to the second one now?
Everything costs more than you think it will. I promise you that. Everything costs more, and it takes longer than you think. So the first one, it was a little bit easier because I wanted to do everything myself.
Okay.
That I could. I'm not that handy, but
Right.
I wanted to get in there and, you know, learn what I'm doing and then deal with tenants and learn everything firsthand. This one, I'm kind of taking a step back because I brought in a partner with this one. The first one I did all myself, but you know, I wasn't able to fund the renovations and the down payment for the second one. So I brought someone in that wanted to invest in real estate, but didn't have the time and energy to do it. So I kind of just filled that gap. So we went in as partners. But now that I don't have to live there anymore at this new property, I'm just hiring contractors and doing all that to kind of step back.
So it's gonna be fixed, and then you rent it pretty much.
Yep.
Do you have to, like, I don't know, you know, because I'm used to there being like an agent, like not an agency, like an organization for, you know, brokers and all this stuff. Like, is there something for a landlord, or once you own a property, you don't have to sign anything, you own it?
Yeah, pretty much once you own it, you can, you know, do as you see fit. Obviously, like there's laws in place for landlords and tenants and stuff like that, but yeah, there's no agency or anything.
Oh, wow, it's just you. And then what decides how much the rent of the place is?
The landlord can kind of come up with that themselves. Obviously, like when I was looking at, you know, how much will I rent this for, I just look at comparable listings. So like, you know, go on Facebook or Kijiji and see what things are renting for. And then, you know, you can kind of judge like, oh, well, that place might be a little bit nicer than mine. It has, you know, a dishwasher and mine doesn't. So I'm not going to rent the same price. But yeah, it's kind of a judgment call. But, you know, if you rent it too high, ideally, like no one will apply, and then you'll kind of figure out, oh, maybe I didn't do that right.
And then you can always change the price if you want.
And I personally I've always used like people that I know and say, like for Truro, I knew some people that invested there, so I'd always reach out and say, oh, do you think this is reasonable for this, or you know, do you think that I can get this rent and stuff like that, because you know, it's a people business.
Right. Of course, right? You're literally seeing the person. How was it like living in the place and renting it out, though? I'm curious.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I got really lucky because I screened my tenants really well, which is something that people can easily ruin their real estate experience with if they don't find the right tenants, and it can be, you know, really hectic.
What was your process of screening tenants?
So I personally I made a Google Forms document so I could ask them every question that I wanted, you know, like, do you smoke? Like, how many pets do you have? Describe them, like all your employment history, landlord references, because I wanted everything to be as sound as possible. And then when I found a few people and I met them and I liked their vibe, I told them up front, you know, hey, I'm going to run a credit check just to make sure like everything looks in order. At that point, once you tell someone that you're going to check their credit, if they say something, if they seem hesitant, then there's
Like,
probably
nah.
something
Yeah,
that's
you
a
gotta
little
check my
off.
credit and stuff.
And
Okay.
I had people like that, like, oh, like, we don't want you looking into that. And that's just kind of was a red flag. So I moved with someone else.
Isn't it, I mean, that's just part of the process,
Exactly.
right?
But, some people aren't comfortable with it, but it's usually for a good reason. So.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I guess you have to hire like someone to do the credit check, right? Or
Yeah, there's online services.
oh, okay.
I think I use like Single Key is what it was just a website. They'll do a credit check, background check, employment check, whatever.
What?
It's like
So
$25.
it's gonna just say, and then basically it gives you a result, and then you kind of try and match with what they said in your form.
Yeah,
or?
it basically just says if there's any red flags or if like how much debt they have and stuff like that, and how much money they make to see if it actually
they can
matches
actually
up.
pay the rent. So with this new place, is it ready now? Is it still being?
Yep. Yeah, it's all ready. There's tenants in one unit, and then we're just waiting for the other ones to move in. So.
Oh wow. Wow. And I guess, what's the plan? Like, are you gonna get more or?
Yeah, ideally, I'd like to get something bigger. The goal for this year is to get 2 properties, but I want to get some multifamily, so bigger, like maybe 8 units and up, ideally.
Oh,
like
so like
smaller
all those
apartment
things.
buildings.
Yeah. That's more work though.
Yeah, it is. It is in a way. It's a little bit more efficient because if you renovate one unit, you can just do the exact same thing to all the other ones if there's not tenants in them. But there's pros and cons to both of them. But it's kind of like how people say you want to diversify in business or in anything like that. With this, when I have a duplex, I only have 2 sources of income for that to cover those expenses.
Right.
But if you have a multifamily building, you have 8. Like let's say if it's an 8 unit. So then if one person leaves, it's not a big deal.
That one can pay for till you get space.
Exactly.
And then this person's, oh, wow.
And there's different financing for it as well.
Are you going to go solo or are you going to with your partner?
No, yeah, I'm going to have to find a partner with those ones. So
how do
especially
you
in
vet
here.
your partners though? Like, how do you find your partners?
Yeah, it's a little bit more new to me because, I just used my first partner recently. People usually start with friends and family, and you kind of just find like, oh, the rich uncle or someone that can help that want to get into it, and then from there you go to outside investors, people that are like acquaintances you don't know that much. So it's it's always important to kind of sit down with them, obviously, but it needs to be a right fit in that they're not like, for me personally, when I found this property, I needed someone that didn't just want to throw money in and get it back right away, because that's just not the environment that we have anymore. Like, you need to hold on to something to actually see gains from it. It's not COVID. You can't just put money in and get it right back out.
Then, yeah.
So I mean, it's mainly I just had to present my opportunity and show them how I could benefit them and make sure that they were okay with all the terms and conditions and stuff like that.
Was this family, or did you have a network of like how you found the people?
Yeah, this was through my network. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I attribute to having properties younger, is I've been around investors for a couple of years, 5 years now at this point. So I have some friends that probably bought about 100 units down in the States. So they just referred me someone.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
The prices it's a different ball game down there. Like, I think they ended up buying a 24 unit building for $1 million, which here you can get a duplex downtown for $1 million.
Wow.
Which is it's just nuts.
That is insane. And then you just, goddamn, you're kind of like just printing money at that point.
Down there, yeah.
Yeah. Do you so the first one you bought it, you lived in it, fixed it, had someone. With the second one with a partner, do you have to like have a company now, or did you even have to have a company for the first one?
It's usually you can do it without one. If you want to do it in your personal name, you can do that. You can also put it in like a corporation or something like that. There's different rules and regulations when it comes to that stuff. We did this in his personal name. But yeah, you can do a corporation if you want. It's just a little bit better for liability, but
so are you going to do that at some point, or is it always
no, with the bigger stuff I think you have to, because once you get into a lot of different tenants in a big building, you probably want that extra protection.
Will you have like a manager or?
Yeah, at this point, I do have a property manager now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
property,
doing
yeah.
it all myself when I started because I didn't see the need.
How do you pick the property manager?
That's also just a vetting process. So like you want to see, have they manage, how many manage or properties do they manage? How do they manage them? Like maybe talk to people that use them. And that's kind of what I did is I knew someone that used my property manager before. Two people actually. So I was able to see, how she does her work, how she deals with tenants and things like that. So
What exactly do they do? Because, like, to me, honestly, I only know when it's time to plow. What else does a property manager do?
yeah, I mean, they pretty much do all the communication with the tenants. So that's a big thing is, you won't get any texts about the water. Like I won't get texts about, a light's not working or the water heater isn't working right this time. So they'll deal with anything tenant related, tenant communications, finding the tenants, putting them in the property, and then any maintenance requests. Obviously, if anything happens, like I'm the one that the property manager will come to, but it's just kind of dealing with the day-to-day operations.
Man, it's like, it sounds super efficient though.
Yeah, you kind of have to be, otherwise you're just,
Yeah.
I don't want to get a call about a toilet
Right,
because I'm not driving down.
So, I mean, you've built this thing, and how does it feel?
It feels good. I will say though, like now that I was in university. This is when I started really researching it. I was in university, and I put myself around those people. Like I've had these people that buy apartment buildings. Like we would do weekly masterminds together. So I saw what they were doing while I was just sitting there, 19 years old in university, not doing anything. So at this point, it feels good, but I'm also, motivated by them. And this is something that I expected by this age. So I definitely am proud of myself, but also pretty humble when I see like what these guys are doing.
What did you study?
I studied finance.
Oh.
So I'm a numbers person already. So.
So it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. What was the plan though? Were you gonna like work in a bank or?
Yeah, I didn't really have a whole big plan. I changed my idea when I was a kid about what I wanted to do all the time. I knew I always wanted to be in real estate some way, shape, or form, but I just knew that I liked numbers and I thought that finance would be a good career. But when you think about finance, you always think about like the big investment bankers that work 80 hours
Wall
and make
Street and stuff.
$500,000 a
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And that's not what I did, but yeah.
Okay. Man, so fascinating. But I decided this year to do something new with the show and ask everyone this one question that someone asked me that really blew my mind. And, I'm going to keep changing it just a little bit, but the essence the same. And the question is this, so what experience happened before you were 17 that's kind of responsible for the person you are today?
That's a tough question.
I know, it blew my mind.
What happened before I was 17 that's responsible? I think for where I am today in real estate and my career and stuff like that, probably the most, I had a conversation with my dad when I was a little bit younger. My dad's a lawyer, but he works for himself. It's just a small practice. And I was always confused growing up because, when you tell someone your dad's a lawyer, they're like, oh, you're loaded. But we're not. They drive modest cars. We live in a modest area. So I asked my dad, like, hey, why don't we have a bunch of money and why don't we go on vacations all the time? And he said to me, well, I could have joined a big firm and made a lot of money, but I chose to work for myself because I didn't want to be tied in the office from 9 to 9 and not being able to see my kids and, my wife.
Wow.
So that kind of changed the way I looked at work because I had a view that I had to be in like somewhere in an office or in a corporate world working all the time to make the money so I could provide for my family and kids. But that kind of shift, like, oh, I can just change the way I look at it and work for myself to avoid, being away from my wife and kids, but still have some money to spend. So that's kind of what shifted me, I think, to go in an entrepreneurial mindset and think like, how can I work for myself to get that time back, but still be able to provide for my family.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That is cool. And then lastly, a friend and former guest actually blew my mind with this magic trick.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, so what it is essentially like this 6 cards. So
Okay.
you pick a number between 1 and 60, right? And then, flip. I need to get you a pen and paper. But you're gonna write your number on this paper
Okay.
and then point it to the camera. And then I will tell you what your number is. After I do a couple of things though.
Okay.
So once you have the number, let me know and let me get into my meditative zone. Okay.
It's hard to write on this couch.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so point it to the... You got it? All right. Okay, so here we go. Is your number in this card?
No.
Nope. Is it in this one?
Nope.
Oh my God, okay. Is it in this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it in this one?
Yes.
This one?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I was just checking. I didn't realize it was in multiple.
Yeah.
That works out fine.
Is it here?
No.
Nope. Is it here?
Nope.
Okay, I hope I don't fuck this up, but you good?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't any of the other ones.
You okay?
You're good.
All right. Is it 17?
How did you do that? Is there a screen that he's looking at?
Oh, there's nothing.
No, there's no way.
It's 17. Oh my God, it's so great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for coming in.